And I will just kind of add on from the meditation for a moment about this mind state, this mindset of accepting our experience, of being with our experience, even when it's unpleasant, or even when the mind is restless, or the body is restless, or you're feeling a little bit of stress or anxiety because maybe something's going on, maybe it's appropriate. And we can get a little bit misguided on this path as thinking, or this idea of thinking that I should only ever be this kind of monotone, calm, meaning I shouldn't have any other experiences. I shouldn't have any ripples. It should only just be this, just I'm moving very, very slow always. I'm always talking very, very slowly. There's never a little bit of excitement, or there's never a little bit of disappointment. And that's just not realistic. Yes, you are calmer. No question on this path, we are calmer. And yes, the peace is always present. But it's not because you force the calm, or not because you force the restless mind down, not because you force the meditation. But just the opposite, you allow it. You allow the restless mind. You're sitting in meditation, and the mind just is going back and forth. And instead of getting upset with it and thinking, oh, this is going to be a bad meditation, my mind's so busy, it's so bad, right? I mean, that's what we start, berating our mind for being busy. And thinking that somehow we're forcing the meditation then, or we're forcing the mind to settle down. We're not forcing it at all. We're getting it more agitated. We're getting more upset with ourselves, right? As opposed to just saying, oh, busy mind today. Okay. I see you, busy mind, right? And just breathing, and oh, goes again. Okay, no problem. Just keep bringing it back. Oh, goes again. No problem. Keep bringing it back. Like, no problem. No problem. Right? Or again, the body's a little bit restless. And you are struggling sitting because there's a little bit of restlessness in the body. And that doesn't mean that maybe you can't even just decide to do walking meditation instead, because there's some restlessness in the body. But if that's not an option, you're on an airplane on a long flight, right? Just accepting, okay, the body's restless. It's restless. Okay. All right. Just breathe into that. Be with that. Yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety. Just because you meditate does not mean that you won't ever experience anxiety, right? Especially as old habits keep playing out. But even there are appropriate times when there's a little bit of anxiety, right? There's a little bit of anxiety here just before I get on the call. There's the last few things that I'm doing. I'm getting the dogs put away, right? There's just it's not like hi, but there's just a little bit, and it's appropriate. I'm about to come on a call. I'm about to present some information. I don't know what's going to come out of this mouth. So, it's like, no, okay, it's all right. That's okay to feel that. Or if you're giving a presentation, like, it's perfectly normal to feel a little bit, right? A little bit of butterflies is good. Too much is not good, because then we're getting lost in it. Or I shouldn't be feeling this, and we're trying to push it down. Then you're not going to show up and be your best. But a little bit is good. I'm a little bit more alert. I'm a little bit more awake, right? It's appropriate for the situation. So just to keep that in mind, not to try and force what you should be feeling. You can't force peace. You can't force calm. You can't force tranquility, right? It's allowing what's happening, that in that allowing, in that welcoming, in that breathing, creating space for whatever it is that you're experiencing in that moment. Whatever it is, that's where the peace comes from. Oh, right? Or that's how the peace is able to shine through, I should say. It's not coming from anywhere, but it's here. But the peace is able to shine through in the letting, in the, this is what's going on. Even anger You have some anger about something, right? Not getting lost in the stories. The stories is a different matter because the stories are not happening. However you're framing the anger at the difficult person or the person that cut you off on the freeway or your boss that did something or the family member that did something, right? Whatever story you're telling yourself is not happening, is not real. It's at best a slight exaggeration. At worst, it's an outright lie. But the feeling of anger is real. And so coming into your body, opening your heart to the anger in a loving way, like you would a child. Oh, sweetheart, what's going on here? Right? Opening yourself to it, allowing it to be. It's not going to go away through the pushing back on it, or I'm a bad meditator or spiritual practitioner because I'm feeling angry. It's not going to go away just directing the anger more at yourself. It's not going to change that way. It just multiplies. Right? But the more we can allow it and go, oh, this too, I can open my heart to this too. Okay, there's still some seeds of anger that are playing out here. Okay, no problem. I can come out of the story that's probably blaming someone else for my anger, wanting to cause pain to someone else to relieve my anger, right? To relieve my pain, sorry. Coming out of that and coming in and just being with it in a kind and loving way and saying, it's okay to feel this. I'm not a bad meditator because there's anger here. By being with what's here in a loving and kind and open and accepting way, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm opening my heart to even that which I see as unpleasant. I am opening my heart to that. That's what the practice is teaching us to do. Not to shape ourselves into some model of what we think this looks like. Anytime you make an image of what you think enlightenment or what a good spiritual person, anytime you make any image out of it, oh, I've got to fit into this image because that's how this person looks, and I want what they have, so now I'm trying to imagine I'm like them. That's not it. That's forcing something. It will look different for you versus, Julia and Emma and Gary and Richard and Tim and Meredith. We all are a little bit different. It will look different for each of us. The feeling of peace, the feeling of love and compassion and kindness and wisdom and forgiveness, yes, we can all relate to that, right? But how it looks on the external can be very different from person to person. So don't make any image out of this. Don't see the person that comes and teaches the class, and don't assume that at other parts of their lives that they're not ever having a moment of stress, of anger, of just, disappointment. I mean, I will say, so ideally not a lot. You shouldn't be listening to someone experiencing a lot of that. But it doesn't mean that they're not human, right? So we want to be able to be realistic about this, right? Not create some image, because I think we do often think, even the Dalai Lama, and I think many of us are familiar with the Dalai Lama. We've seen him, maybe just seen him in talks on YouTube. And, and he's funny, and he's just cute as a button, and so wise, and just, just has such a good attitude, right? You can just see such love and kindness in him. And yet he admits that he can get angry from time to time, right? Not all the time, otherwise I don't think he'd be the Dalai Lama, or I don't think we'd be listening to him that much. But that he could admit that, yeah, occasionally it happens to me too. Right? And I would bet you anything he does not beat himself up for it. If he needs to apologize, I'm sure he goes and apologizes. But that he's human, and things still play out. So, just to keep that in mind, whatever it is that is your experience, don't try and change it to fit some model of what you think this looks like. Just be with what's here. Allow it, accept it. Being with it in the body. There's no image if you're in the body. So being with what's here. It'll change. Don't do that. Don't accept it also. Don't try and come into it and say, well, I'm going to allow it. Kind of thinking, so that way I'm pushing it away. That's not really pushing, that's not really allowing. But it will change. It will change. Not because you're trying to force it to change, but because it just naturally will change on its own. Especially when you stop feeding the story that was probably fueling most of the feelings. Right? Allowing whatever it is that's here to be here. That's our practice. One of our many practices. So, okay, let me see. I think Julia's put something up here, a comment. Oh, good. So the awareness of your projected image has been very eye-opening and turning towards self-compassion first before judgment feels like growth. Yeah. And I know you've been doing the ego series, and we've been talking, well, I think we talked about it mostly in the last class where, and all these classes are up on my teacher's page on Insight Timer. Really that image, we get so lost in the image. You know, the me as a disappointment, the me as a loser, the me as a failure, and then ultimately the me as a spiritual person, the me as an enlightened being. Any image is not it. Anything that anytime you try and make an image out of this on the spiritual path, an image out of yourself, that is not it. You can't make an image out of this. That's simply a thought-created, egoic, separate self, me. An idea of what we think peace is, but not peace. An idea of what we think enlightenment is, but not enlightenment. So I'm so glad to hear that, Julia. Yeah. Anytime you start making an image of yourself, I'm a meditator, I'm a peaceful person, I'm a teacher, I'm a CEO, I'm a employee, I'm a mother, I'm a father. Like anytime you make an image out of anything, it creates a little bit of stress because now there's an image to live up to. Well, first of all, you're not even measured, especially on the spiritual path. You're just moving further away from it. But even just the conventional images that we have of all the different roles that we play, and we do, teacher, student, parent, daughter, sister, brother, friend, all of these different roles that we play. Whenever we make an image out of it, it's like, I've got to live up to that. I've got to live up to the image of teacher now. Well, that's a burden. I don't want to live up to any images. I mean, if anything, then that makes me less of a teacher if I'm trying to live up to some image, or if I'm trying to live up to the image of as being a student. Right? Anytime we have an image of ourselves in any capacity, we are not the best version of that role that we are in. Because there's grasping at it, right? And if I'm the good mother, I can be the bad mother. If I'm the good friend, I can be the bad friend. If I'm the good teacher, I can be the bad teacher. And then we're just going back and forth. As opposed to, there's a role playing here, teaching happening, friending happening, mothering happening. Okay, sometimes it looks a little better than others. Okay, no problem. This is what's arising. Be with it. Right? You're your best version without any images at all. So I know you were saying you're using a lot of self-compassion, and that is such a good practice for us to help us come into our experience, to get out of whatever image it is that's arisen. Any suffering, when you are suffering, 100% there's an image. there's an image. I'm an unworthy person. Even when we think, oh, look at me, I'm great. I did something great, right? Even in that, while it doesn't feel as bad as the unworthy image, there's still some nervous energy around it, because we're trying, it's a fleeting image, right? It comes and goes, and we're trying to make it permanent. And so even in that, there's that little bit of nervous energy, that little bit of grasping at it, that little bit of clinging, because I'm feeling really good, because I have an image of myself as having done something really good. And when I first feel it or think it, there's that little rush, like, oh, and it does, relatively speaking, the rush initially feels kind of good, relatively speaking, not as good as peace, but relatively speaking, better than someone just criticized us. You get that initial rush, but then you've got to hold on to the image, but it's fleeting. And so you got to keep, oh, but hang on. Okay, let me think about it again. Let me think about it again. Let me try and hold it. There's nowhere for the image to land. And we're trying desperately to get it to land and stick somewhere. And then inevitably what happens, as we keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and trying to get it to stick, trying to concretize an illusion, what happens is that eventually the mind then has moved to the bad image. We find something, well, what if, oh, this was all going so great, but then what if? And then we start flipping over there and then remember what happened back there. And oh, yeah, that's right, that was a bad image. The good image and the bad image are inextricably tied together. You cannot have one without the other. We are all okay with letting go of the bad image. Nobody argues with, oh yes, I should get rid of the unworthy image, the unlovable, the broken, the lacking, the small, the limited, and the loser me. Like, yes, I'm totally good with getting rid of all of those images. No problem. Okay, well, every single one of those images are linked to its opposite. I'm the winner. I'm so worthy. I'm so lovable. I'm so, I say I'm a winner. Whatever it is that's the bad, the other side of it, the good, is inextricably tied together. You cannot have the good image of you without also having the bad image of you. You have to be willing to give up all of the images if you want peace, because you will not find peace in any image. Any image is an image of me as something, and I'm in the illusion. I'm back in the illusion. But when the image goes away, I'm out of the illusion, and I am actually my best, because I'm not operating out of craving and resisting any longer. Oh, I need them to see me this way, right? Right? Anytime we're doing that, we're not our best, right? If we need to try and appear as something, we're not our best. And of course, the other side of that is the fear. And what if I make a fool of myself? And what if they criticize me? And what if they blame me? And so we've got this fear, the craving and the resisting, the craving and the fear, right? As we think we're trying to do our best, we're not doing our best under those circumstances. We're just stressed and nervous. Too much stress, too much nervousness. So yeah, the image, any image is not it. We really have to be so careful on this path of making an image out of this. It's even why in Buddhism, when the Buddha would describe it as the deathless, try and make an image out of that. And it's why in Buddhism we don't talk so much about the true self. That's kind of more in the Vedic traditions. You'll hear that from the Eastern Indian traditions. And I will use the term true nature. I have used the term true self in the past, but traditionally in Buddhism, it's not. The Buddha was very careful to not make anything out of this. And in fact, even when he was asked, there's many times when he would be asked a question and he wouldn't answer. When he was asked, does God exist? He wouldn't answer. So then the questioner asks, does God not exist? Wouldn't answer. Does the self exist? Wouldn't answer. Is there no self that exists? Wouldn't answer. Because if you're told there is a self, and even though we have, we say there's no self in Buddhism, but in this teaching that he was giving, I think it's really important to take this to heart. If someone asks and says, is there a self? Is there a God? You will immediately make an image out of it. If you're told there is no God, or if we were to answer to say there is no self, then you go to a nihilism. I don't exist. And so he was really trying to walk that fine line of saying, like, whatever you think this is will not be it. And if you make an image out of it, you're going to get led astray. You're not going to see it because you're going to be so fixated on what you think it is, you won't see it. And this is a challenge on the spiritual path because we think we come with the mind, the craving mind, the mind filled with greed and aversion, and we come with that mind thinking we know what this is, that we know what enlightenment is, what that looks like. And that whatever you think it looks like is not it. It will just take you, it's just the ego disguised again. It was disguised as comparing and jealousy and envy over here, and now it's disguised as a spiritual person, as an enlightened person. Any image is not it. And so self-compassion, back to your comment there, Julie, on self-compassion, like that brings us into our experience coming out of the images. When we've screwed up, when we've said the wrong thing, when our ego did come out and we acted in a way that we're not proud of, but we don't want to beat ourselves up for either. Right? So again, like just we want to accept, like, oh, sweetheart. Yeah, you had a little moment there, didn't you, sweetheart? Yeah, that was a little ego came out there, didn't it? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Right? Using self-compassion to come in and be with your experiencer. Oh, sweetheart, that hurt. That hurt. That was tough. Yeah, it was tough. Right? Coming in and being with the experience, feeling. Coming into the body, feeling what's happening, not fighting it. Not thinking, oh, my image, what I'm feeling now isn't matching up with what my image of a peaceful meditator, spiritual person, enlightened person looks like. And you come in and you be with your experience and you allow it and you accept it. You're out of the illusion. That's enlightenment. I saw through the illusion of the ego, the image, and I came in to be with my experience. That's waking up. And it's to keep putting that together, more and more of those moments, to keep putting them together, right? To keep coming back and begin again and begin again and begin again. No judgment, because we had a moment. We judged someone, we judged ourselves, we compared ourselves. No problem for what happened. Begin again. Begin again. Yes, if apologies are necessary, they should be said. Not from our ego, but just, yeah, okay, I messed up. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I hurt you. I'm so sorry if that was rude, or I'm so sorry, right? But to just keep coming back. And really in forgiveness, forgiving ourselves. Always forgiving ourselves first, because we're human. We don't allow ourselves to be human on the spiritual path. We go from beating ourselves up in one way, and we really do have a whole new wardrobe of ways to beat ourselves up on the spiritual path. Whole new toolbox, I guess I should say, of ways to torture ourselves. You're human. You're human. It's okay. Allow yourself to be imperfect. No one is perfect. Enlightened beings are not perfect. They're not beating themselves up about it anymore. That's the difference. They're no longer beating themselves up because they're not living up to any image. And when you're not living up to an image, you do tend to act in ways that are actually much more just appropriate. Right? You're having a discussion with someone and they have a difference of opinion just because you have woken up to the illusion of separateness, seeing that that's a lie, doesn't mean that you don't have opinions or views. Of course you do. You're just not attached to them. So when you're having a discussion with someone and they're sharing their views and you're sharing yours, you're not getting angry, you're not getting irritated. They don't have to agree with you. That's not the point. We're having a discussion, learning. Oh, that's interesting. This is what I've read. But I haven't read everything. Maybe you've read something I haven't read. As that attachment is gone. So when you're having a discussion, you're not trying to force your opinions down someone else's throat, creating more suffering, more anger. Right? That's what the ego does. But when there's no image to live up to, the image of I have to be right, we can just have a nice, pleasant conversation with someone, even while disagreeing. The less attached you are to your opinion, the more open you are to hearing, the more easily the conversation flows. It's more pleasant. So I think we tend to, the more you wake up to that you are not this image, the more you live your life more mindfully, more peacefully. You don't create a lot of drama any longer. You're not perfect, though. You're not perfect. And everyone can trip and fall. You speak enough, something will come out that was like, doesn't have to be hurtful or painful or something, but just like, actually, why did I put that word there? That wasn't right. Every now and then when I go back, because I record these classes and then I post them up later, and especially at the end, because sometimes we've gone like 2.5 hours, and I can see at the end I'm probably getting a little tired. And something comes out, I'm like, that's actually not exactly right. Just maybe need to cut out one word. Probably you got the context because you were here for the whole thing. But every now and then it's like, that. So for the purpose of a recording, I'll just edit that one little word out. I did it just in the one I put up yesterday. Because I think I was talking at the end about the illusion, and I called it the illusion of suffering. I think what I meant to say was the illusion of separateness. Okay, no problem. Even if I just put it up just as is, I think the general context, people would get the idea. But yeah, it doesn't mean that things don't occasionally come out slightly, and that you don't make mistakes. That you're not going to stop making mistakes. You're not going to suddenly become charismatic. If you're not a charismatic person now, you're not going to suddenly become charismatic. The person that all of a sudden you imagine, you're going to be at the party always knowing exactly what to say. No. I mean, if you're, again, the difference is it's not that you always know what to say. It's not that you're always on. It's that you don't beat yourself up because there was an awkward moment. Just an awkward moment. Those were the conditions that were arising. No problem. No apology needed, just an awkward moment. Just an awkward moment. Okay, I'll take a look. I think Daphne has a question. So from Daphne, sometimes I have panic around how long it's taking me to find peace. I find old patterns keep repeating. So, I mean, I think that's part of the struggle that we have, especially as we become more mindful. You probably all heard this before, but it really is true. Sometimes the more mindful we can become, it can almost feel like I'm suffering more. Because before I knew I was suffering, but I didn't quite know the extent of what was going on in my thoughts, let's say, right? And then as you start to become more mindful, and you have those periods of peace when you're meditating, and you have those few minutes, maybe it's just a few minutes, or you have those moments of gratitude, of kindness practice, these little moments of peace, and then, those old thought patterns are still playing out, and you're more aware of them. And in that being more aware of them, it's almost like we suffer a little bit more. It's like, well, now, I mean, I was kind of ignorant and delusional back there. I'm still ignorant and delusional, but I'm more aware of my ignorance and my delusions. And it can be a little bit painful. So it's good to be aware of that and to recognize again, this idea that we have that it's taking a long time. Anytime you're saying it's taking a long time, you're lost in the illusion. Time only exists, really, like in our memories. If we're looking in that context, it's like in my memories is how time exists. Time is a conventional time is conventional. It's not absolute. It's helpful. I knew to be on this call an hour ago at noon because I had scheduled it. My clock over here said it was noon and I came on the call. So it's helpful, but it is still part of the illusion. There really is nothing but this moment. The rest of it's just in our thoughts. And so when you're saying to yourself, I feel like it's taking a long time, you're measuring something in your thoughts. The me that's not performing according to this PowerPoint presentation in my head of where I should be now, keeping you further away from it. Wherever you are is exactly where you should be. Exactly where you should be. Based on all of your causes and conditions, you are exactly where you should be. And it is in accepting that you relax. Oh, I'm exactly where I should be. Because again, if I'm having this idea that it's taking me a long time, you've had something in your mind, it's out here. Oh, it's taken me a long time to get over here, right? All of this is in your thoughts. It's just your subjective view of this. And it's just another way that we get tricked back into the old egoic patterns. Again, the master of disguise. The master of disguise, the ego. You're not doing it fast enough. You're not as good as you thought you were. You should be more peaceful by now. Right? And we listen and go, you're right. It's not happening fast enough. Right? And we're just right back up in the illusion. So be mindful of that, Daphne. And for everyone on the spiritual path here, to be mindful of that little ego kind of, you're not getting it. You should be further along by now. No, you're exactly where you should be. And if you're in the hole, you're in the hole. For those of you who know the story where I talk about when you're in the hole, right? You're in the hole, you're suffering, you're pushing back on something. That's exactly where you should be. Exactly where you should be. There's something to learn here. So there's something for you to learn here right now, Daphne. And for everyone. So I appreciate you saying this, bringing this point up, because every one of us has had that thought before, Daphne. We tend to think that all the thoughts are original and mine. No, they're not. All of our thoughts are the result of our culture. Our ego, by the way, is the result of our culture and our society. If we were brought up in a radically different culture, say an indigenous type tribe, let's say in North America, the Indians before the Europeans came, where for the most part they were living pretty peaceful lives in balance with nature, fairly egalitarian societies. And, there wasn't any ownership of anything. And so, while they all had a sense of individualness, that was more of a secondary kind of thing to the sense of, we're all one. I'm a part of the universe. I'm a part of nature. I'm an animal. I'm a part of this whole ecosystem, right? And so the thoughts that they would have would be, they would still be thinking, right? Thinking's not bad. Even a little egoic thinking is not bad in and of itself, especially for that type of culture where it's not where the ego has not become the master, where it's secondary. It's a good assistant. It's not a good master. It's not a good CEO. And so the thoughts that they would have would be representative of their society, not original to them, to each person, but thoughts that are kind of floating around. And so the thoughts that we have are relevant to a society and a culture that values individualism, materialism, wealth, power, fame, status, beauty, youth, right? This is what our culture, money, I probably didn't say money, this is what it values. And so out of that, our thoughts are around the culture, the values of our culture. And again, for the time period that we were born in and where we were born, and whether you're a woman or a man, how old you are, what type of media you consume. So none of our thoughts are original. We tend to think, I'm the only one sitting here that's having this thought, I should be further along. Everyone's having it. If you haven't had it yet, and maybe Daphne has now given you the gift of seeing this ahead of time, so you don't get lost in it. But most spiritual practitioners have this thought. You are not alone, Daphne. It is a common thought, and it is another disguise of the ego. Me not getting there fast enough. Right? That's an image. Me falling behind. Any image is not it. So thank you for sharing that, Daphne, because I think I know other people here have had that thought. And if you haven't had it yet, it's going to come. And hopefully, because of Daphne's kindness of writing that, you're going to be prepared when it does come. Well, I think, Julia, you were just referring to what I was saying before, so I'm glad you recognize the dialogue. Actually, that's another point. Yeah, you recognize it. Very familiar dialogue in your head. We all know it. It's all the same. It's all the same thoughts. Nothing's original here. And hi, Kimmy. Nice to see you. So first time here, just started the ego series. When your ego Mara jumps in, and all I think is I'm in a Super Mario Brothers not real game with music sound. Is that funny? Yes. It is it's like our little characters running through this game. And there's all these obstacles. I mean, it's really, we can be driving down the freeway, perfectly safe. Everything is okay. But in our mind, our little avatar is facing all these obstacles, and it's trying to get over there because it believes that if it gets over there, it's not just going to get the extra points. It's going to find eternal happiness and be complete. It's going to find the peace over there. That this whole game, this is, and it's kind of why I call it the ego game, the series that we just did. That's all up on my teacher's page. It's like a game. We are running through. There is no prize for getting things done faster, for acquiring more things, for getting more titles, for stressing ourselves out. There is no prize for any of this, for getting your to-do list done faster than just some imaginary goal that you had in your head. But there is a price. I mean, we lose. We miss our lives. We miss our lives entirely because we're so lost in the game. I'm winning, right? This is what we think. I'm winning. All of a sudden, something good happens. Yay! Someone gave you some praise. You got a promotion. You got a book deal. Something happened. Yay! Like, that's awesome. Enjoy it. Don't deny the good feelings. But don't go up into the image and look, now I'm winning. I'm ahead, right? You think your little Mario character is further ahead now, right? Because as long as you're up there, then you're just in the illusion. You're just always in the illusion, and you're never appreciating where you are. Right? We rush through every part of our lives as though there's some prize at the end. And we never get to the completion, right? The game just starts again. Oh, it starts again. Oh, I got there. It was exciting for a few moments. And now I'm sad because actually it didn't fulfill me the way I thought it should have. And again, that doesn't mean that we don't enjoy the good things in life, and not that we don't even have the desires to say you want to get promoted, or you want to get a book deal, you want to go on a holiday, you want something. There's nothing wrong with wanting things, or even wanting to improve in your career, to learn something, to make a change. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. But the moment we attach a belief to, I'll be happy when I get there, all that's going to happen is, as we're driving around, we're brushing our teeth, we're showering, we're eating our meals, we're just lost in the game. Am I getting there? Am I getting there? Oh no, I'm falling behind because something happened. Oh no, and we're just watching this little game, our little avatar going back and forth, missing our entire lives. And then ultimately for the big disappointment, because we get there and it's yay, and it feels good, and it should feel good. But we don't understand that it's fleeting. That new promotion, the new title, the new partner, the new car, the new holiday, they're just fleeting experiences. They can't complete you. So then the disappointment sets in. Oh, that didn't work. What next? Well, I guess it wasn't the VP role. I guess I better go for the senior VP role. Let me go back up and start chasing again. We're rushing through just the little things. We're in our house doing the dishes. I talk about the dishes a lot. Because we tend to think of doing the dishes as not part of life. And we're rushing through the dishes. The mind, there's nothing really, it's nothing even that, I just want to get done with the dishes so I can, hop on the sofa and watch something, right? You've got something to watch on Netflix with your partner or something. And you're rushing through the dishes. The dishes, by the way, that at one point you were on a dopamine high buying, that were going to complete you. Or the new pots and pans that were going to complete you at one point, right? Rushing through, not appreciating what you've got right there, not feeling the peace that is inherent here in this moment. We're so lost in the addiction of the stress hormones that, because we've got one foot on the brake, one foot on the accelerator. And we're so lost in that feeling of always like, oh, got to get somewhere. I got to push back on that because it's stopping me from getting over there. And we're so addicted to the stress, even though it doesn't feel good, that we don't even realize how unpleasant the experience is, and that we have completely forgotten how to be. Just how to be. I mean, we tell ourselves, oh, you're super, maybe you're going through a busy, stressful time in your life. And we all do this when we're busy. Oh, I just can't wait until this is all over and I have nothing to do. When there's just absolutely nothing, it's going to be so great, right? An image, me, peaceful, nothing to do on the other side of all this. And then whenever we have those moments when there's nothing going on, instead of enjoying it, instead of like, this is great, there's nothing going on, we go, I'm bored. I don't like this. Something's wrong. Let me go back up into my little avatar here. There's an obstacle. I'm bored. Right? We spend time fantasizing about it only to get there. And it's like, well, I didn't really mean nothing. Right? Because we don't know how to be. We don't know how to feel. Like to feel the joy of existing. To feel and appreciate and be okay. And to just feel that sense of peace, of openness, of spaciousness. Like to use our senses to see and to hear and to touch and to taste and to smell. You know, we're eating one meal, thinking about the next meal. I mean, we're not tasting what's going on right now. We don't even know how to taste anymore. Right? Maybe the first bite, oh, this is so good. And then we're just shoveling in more. We're not even chewing it all the way. We're talking, we're watching something. We're thinking about the next meal. We're thinking about how quickly now can I all morning you're thinking about what you're going to have for lunch. You're trying to get through your lunch because now you got to get back to the office. You know, it's this endless chase. Endless chase. It's like we're living in, and as you know, Kimmie, because you're doing the series in the ego game, like I start out by talking, it's like we're living in a VR headset. That's the illusion. Every time we go up in this VR headset, we split ourselves into two. And the one that's in control is the one in the VR headset. That's what's directing this. And we go rushing, oh, yes, I got to go get there. The body's moving through time and space, fast, stressed, anxious. Oh, they're coming to get me, even though no one's coming to get me. The clock's ticking, even though there is no clock ticking. I got to get there faster, right? Because this little image in our head is like a little tyrant cracking the whip. Get over there, get over there. And you get there. Okay, that was good. Now get over there. And you go, oh, okay, let me get over there. Oh, this is a problem. Got stuck in traffic. What a nightmare, right? We are giving all of our attention to the game, the video game, the VR headset, the delusion. And we are missing our lives. Even when you are present, this is part of the challenge. It's almost because, again, the addiction of the stress that we're under so much of the time, even just that little bit of tension, just a little bit, I got to get there a little faster. It doesn't feel like really big. Just a little bit. I got to get there a little faster. We're so addicted to that when we feel the peace, like the peace that comes for moments, just a few moments when we get there, not because of anything in the external world, but simply because the chasing went away for a few moments. The illusion went away for a moment. I got there. That's what feels so good. That peace of, I'm out of the game for a few minutes. But even then, it's like, I better not stay here too long. There's something to do. There's somewhere to be. Got to get back to the stress. We don't even trust the peace of the present moment. it's almost uncomfortable to some degree. It feels good in the first few moments, and then it's like a drug addict. Ooh, need that adrenaline again. Need that cortisol. Need that dopamine. The little itch. Got to get back up in there. So there is a little bit of discomfort in that. In not, kind of not going back up into the game, there's a little bit of discomfort there and going, no, I'm just going to be with it. I'm just going to feel it. Breathe. It's not going to kill you. You can feel your feelings. They're not going to kill you. And just come in and feel it. Wow, I was so lost there. I'm back. But it does, those first few breaths can feel a little bit uncomfortable as you're more consciously bringing yourself into the present moment. Actually, always consciously bringing yourself into the present moment. Right? Becoming more conscious, more aware. And then it's like, okay. And like we talked about in the meditation and at the beginning of our talk, okay, there's a little stress and anxiety here. No problem. No problem. Whatever's here is here. And I can open my heart to whatever it is that's here. And I can breathe and I can create space and I can allow it to be here. Right? Oh, stress. It's okay you're here. It's okay. You can be here. It's okay, anxiety. You can be here. Befriending our emotions. We're not, again, anytime we're pushing back, anytime we're resisting, creating a aversion, that's the illusion. Right? Because how do we push back? In our thoughts. This shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't have said that. I'm such an idiot. I'm such a loser. That's how we push back in our thoughts. So any pushing back is still the illusion. Oh, anger, you're here? Okay. Okay, my love, my anger. Okay. Not the story, but come into it. And still you can talk, right? Self-compassion is kind self-talk. Talking to ourselves in a way that brings us into our experience versus pushing us off the edge, right? So coming in, just, you can be with this. Breathe and feel it. And it's okay. And it's okay to feel whatever it is that I'm feeling right now. It is okay to feel this. And we just keep breathing and allowing it to be. And then the peace that a few minutes ago you were telling yourself you're not getting there fast enough. You're like, it was here. It was here the whole time. And it wasn't because I needed to have some experience of being peaceful. I just needed to be with my experience. I just needed to feel it. I just needed to accept and welcome it and open my heart to it. And it was here. And I can still feel a little bit of residual tension or a little bit of whatever residual feelings are still there, which aren't, necessarily pleasant. Okay. And they're okay here too. And that's okay too. They can all be here. And it is an accepting your experience in the present moment, being with it in the body, not the story. That's not being with it. It's a little bit uncomfortable, those first few breaths. We're so used to just going right back up, getting that hit. Even though that hit of the stress, the adrenaline, the cortisol, the norepinephrine, even though it doesn't really feel good, there's a little itch for it. Ooh, it's been 10 minutes. I haven't had the stress. Need a little more. Right? So it's a little bit uncomfortable. Just come back and feel. Welcome. Be with what's here. Okay, let's look at a couple more questions here. Oh, Mize, I'm glad this is relatable. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, Monica. Okay, and I'm so glad that you're here with us. Leslie, you've been with us before. Yes. The prize versus the price. Yeah. We're paying a steep price for this, a very steep price. And yes, Kimmy, it is the now. The now is all that is. It's all that is. Everything else is just a fantasy. And if you can't be happy now, then don't bother making any plans. Alan Watts has a quote about that. I totally just mucked it up, paraphrased it. But if you cannot be happy in the present moment, forget making any plans. Because you will not be happy when you get there. You will just move the goal again. That's all we keep doing. And yeah, Julia, yeah. We do not trust the peace of the present moment. We don't trust it. We have an idea of what peace looks like, as though it should be. Again, it's like this. I know I'm not alone in this image either. Going on some meditation retreat, and you kind of imagine, oh, me on the retreat. Actually, Julia and I, we did just talk about this recently. And you kind of imagine, oh, me on the retreat. And there's going to be this one session of the meditation. And it's going to happen. I'm going to be enlightened. And everyone else is going to get up from the hall and leave, but I'm just going to sit there because I'm in my deep state of samadhi. And then hours later, I will get off my cushion and float to my room. Like we have an image of this, of like, it's going to be this angels and harps and just all this like, all these things happening. And of course, that's just not how it plays out. It is in that it's just in this moment, feeling as Kimmy was saying here, feeling my unworthiness and being with it. I'm being with it. It's that little bit of discomfort in the beginning. Just that little bit of discomfort in the beginning. But to keep coming back and to keep, I say this teaching again and again, and I have a talk on my teacher's page, begin again, begin again, begin again. If you don't begin again, then you are not on the path. Beginning again means no judgment for what just happened. That is just the ego coming in another back door, judging ourselves because we lost it, because we had an unmindful moment, because you were rushing through something, but then you caught it. Begin again. Breathe, fresh start. Clean slate. Just begin again. Feeling that little bit of discomfort because the mind is already over here, and it's uncomfortable when the mind is ahead of the body, when we're rushing through life with our mind over here. So there's discomfort. And as the mind starts coming into the body, as you become one again, as the duality, as the illusion of duality starts to go away, and you just come into the breath, a little bit of discomfort because the pull in those thoughts is so compelling. It's about me, right? The thoughts are always about me. And we see ourselves as the most important person in the world. Because through the illusion of separateness, through the ego, I see myself as the center of the universe. And it's why when I'm stuck in traffic and I'm late, I count all the other cars as being in my way, but I don't count my car as being part of the traffic. Or when I'm waiting, you're at a restaurant waiting for a table, and you count all the other people that are waiting, creating an inconvenience for you, not thinking about how, I'm also creating an inconvenience for someone else. We always see ourselves as the center of the universe. in our little illusion. And that feels awful. It does not feel good to view the world that way, because from this perspective, I'm a victim because of the traffic. I'm outraged because they didn't speak to me appropriately, right? They didn't greet me in a friendly way when I walked in the store. Couldn't be that they're having a tough day. That person that cut me off, how dare they do that to me? Because I've never cut anyone off. Couldn't dare give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And so, because it's always about me being the most important, it's so compelling. And there's this belief that somehow I am holding everything together in my thoughts. So if I take my attention away from me in my thoughts, I won't place myself on that important pedestal that I should be on, and everything might fall apart. So it's very compelling, the thoughts about me. And yet, that's where our suffering is coming from. Because we don't see ourselves as part of the universe, we see ourselves as the center of it. We see ourselves as separate from everyone else. It's, what are you doing over there? How is it affecting me? I'm the center of the universe, not a part of it. We have no compassion for other people. They're just in my way. I'm most important. I need to get over there. We take everything personally. I mean, this is when we live in the game, the video game, the VR headset, the ego. This is how we feel. It's not reality. The reality is you are a part of the universe, that you are a part of this tapestry, that every single one of us is arising. I know you guys have heard me say this a million times, but this is reality. Every single one of us is arising, interdependent, interconnected. There is nothing separate about us. We think there is, and therefore we think we're the most important. And it is that delusion that creates so much suffering for us, for those around us, for our world. I mean, you just look at the fighting that's going on right now, the anger, the hatred, the vitriol that we can have for other people simply for having different views and opinions. Not understanding, they have their views and opinions because of all of their causes and conditions. If I had their causes and conditions, I would have those same views. Mine aren't more special. They're just the arising of this one, of all the millions and billions and trillions and causes of conditions of this one. Who my parents were, where I was born, who my siblings were, what schools I went to, what friends I hung out with, what kind of experiences I've had, what kind of media I've consumed. All of these things giving rise to views and opinions here. Not unique, they could possibly be a little bit unique, but they're not special to me, but they are the arising of all these millions and billions and trillions of different things. And that is the reality, that we are all arising interdependent and interconnected. Even just how we live our day-to-day, where we assume, like, I bought the food to be able to make my meals. I'm so independent. Well, did you grow every bit of that food? Right. Most of us did not grow all of our food. Did you make the pots and pans and the dishes that you used to prepare the food? No, other people did that. Did you build your own house? I didn't build this house. I didn't make my clothes. Right? I didn't make the computer that we're doing this on right now. I didn't invent the internet that we're doing this across. We are having this dialogue right now because of all of these millions and billions of people that have all played their role, all the teachers that each and every one of us have had. Every teacher that I've had is coming through out in a unique way, delivered to you, based on all the experiences of Meredith, all of the practices of Meredith, all of her causes and conditions. We can think we are separate, and that is the problem. We think we are separate. If I think I'm separate, I can feel unworthy, unlovable, lacking, broken. But when I realize, I didn't do any of this. This is just arising through millions and billions and trillions of causes and conditions. There is something here having an experience, but I'm not doing any of this. There's nothing here independent to be unworthy, to be unlovable. And just to echo your comments again, Kimme, I've felt that for a long, long time. A long, long time. That's what brought me on this path. After therapy and a few other things. That's what the separate self does. It makes us feel unworthy. Doesn't matter how things are looking on the outside. Inside, we feel like a fraud. We feel broken. That's what the separate self does. It will never allow you to feel whole and complete. You cannot feel whole and complete when you are separating yourself into two. We've got to come out of the illusion of separateness. We'll come to the end here. Whatever is happening, whatever unpleasant feeling you're having, be on the lookout for that. The thoughts are so fast. They're so fast, and they're so in there. Come in and feel it. And as you guys know from the Ego Game series that I use from the story of the Buddha, I see you, Mara. I see you, Mara. Right? Just saying that, I see you, Mara. I start to create a little bit of separation from, not believing I'm that. But, I see you, Mara. And come in and feel. And breathe. And whatever it is that you're experiencing, feeling in the body, not the story, just allow yourself to feel it. It's okay to feel. Whatever it is, it's okay to feel and just be with it. To keep being with it. To come into the body, because those first few breaths are a little bit, even just that pull there is a little bit uncomfortable. But we've got to keep breaking the habit. To keep coming into the body and feeling it. To get past that little bit of discomfort because of the pull to go up into your thoughts. To come in the other direction, to do the opposite. That everything in your head is screaming, no, 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 no. Go up there, everything's going to fall apart if you don't. So everything in your experience is saying, no, 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 go back there. It's not easy to come in. So start with little things. Little things. Your mind's just a little bit ahead of you. It's on to the next thing. You're doing the dishes and it's on to being in the living room. You're in the living room and it's on to getting ready in the bathroom for bed. You're in the bathroom, it's on to getting, into bed. Or you're getting ready for work and you're already at work, or you're already on the freeway. Whatever it is, just noticing those little mind movements. Breathe and come back. Whew, just those little ones. And those little pushbacks. Those, ooh, that little this shouldn't be happening. I'm stuck in traffic. Just the little ones, the little disappointments, the little irritations. Notice all those little things. Every single one of them, the mind going out ahead of you or the mind pushing back. There's a tightening, there's a clenching. Be on the lookout. I see you, Mara. Breathe. And let me feel this. And it's okay to feel this. There's no beating myself up here. Because whatever's happening is happening. And I'm coming into my experience to be with it. It's okay to feel whatever it is that I'm feeling. And we're not doing this to push it away. We're coming in to be with our experience. accepting it, allowing it. And then you will find, I thought my peace was going to be over there. Actually, that was just my stress and anxiety. But I came into it. And I'm okay. I'm okay again. Okay, so practice. Keep looking for the image, looking for Mara. If you're unfamiliar with that story, again, on my teacher page, I think the class is called Understanding the Ego, the first class, and we talk about the story about the Buddhas waking up. So you got to catch it. You are never going to find peace and contentment in your thoughts. You will never, ever find it. It's in coming out and then learning to trust the present moment. You will not fall apart. You will be better. And you'll be peaceful. Okay? So, thank you all so much.